From the cheapest places to the most expensive, the second Makan Index study goes on the hunt for how food and drink prices have changed at your favorite food stalls as the cost of living goes up. And for more, this lead researcher from IPS, Dr. Teo Kay Kee, joins us now. Dr. Teo, the average price from this study of eating out at all meals in hawker centres in Singapore in one day was $17. Put that into context for us. Is that a lot or is that a little?
Well, if we look at the price of 3 meals a day in these food establishments, it works out to around $6 per meal. And if we take away the cost of drinks, it will work out to around $4 to $5 on average. And most of the food items that we can find in food establishments like food courts, hawker centers, and kopitiams are actually priced within this range. So I think it is within expectations, but whether it is expensive or not will depend on one's purchasing power. So if I look at someone who's earning $5,000 a month, it will work out to around 10% of their salary. But for someone earning $2,000, it works out to around 1/4 of their monthly salary. So for these two individuals, they would have very different experiences of whether this cost is expensive or not.
Right. Dr. Teo, this isn't the first iteration of the Makan Index. I mean, there's been one before. How did the findings for this second version sort of compare with the first time you did this study?
Well, I think we actually focus on different approaches to analysis. So we had very different findings in these two studies. The first approach actually looked at forming an index, and they used a basket of 5 food items to create this index. It is sort of similar to the consumer price index in that sense. But for our current iteration, we wanted to mainly look at the cost of food, which takes up a big part of the overall costs of living. So how we did it was we expanded this basket into 18 sets of food and to basically see how much people spend on all these food items and compare them with each other. So our findings are very different because it really looks at the data in a very different way.
Dr. Makan 2.0 was carried out across 2 rounds. So you had a fuller survey in the final quarter of last year, a smaller one again this year between January and February. What do you make of the price differences and were they significant?
So we found that for most food items, there were some increases in the average food cost. It ranged between a few cents to around 30 cents. Only the prices for vegetarian bihun did not increase, but that's because we didn't manage to find that many in the locations we visited. These locations were chosen at random. So we did find statistically significant price increases for a few items, and these include the drinks on all the drinks on our list, the breakfast set, chicken rice, economic rice, wonton noodles, fishball noodles, fish soup with rice, prata, and chicken chop. So we did find that iced Milo had a highest relative increase of around 7%, but it was 12 cents, so it rose from $1.72 to $1.84.
Right. So there is a fair range depending on where you have your chicken rice or where you have your nasi lemak or your kopi. I mean, it just depends on the region. We imagine that partly that's due to maybe rental costs are higher and so on. I mean, is there a justification for why some prices are so much higher than other places?
Well, we actually have not conducted the full analysis. So what I'm going to share now is really some a hypothesis based on theory. So perhaps rental cost is one of them. But we also find that actually availability of food items in the area might be another factor. Because if you look at the number of price observations for each food item, there were differences in the numbers across different regions. So usually, based on economic theory, higher supply would lower the price, and that may be another reason. So another reason is we found that there was an uneven spread of hawker centers, food courts, and kopitiams across the different regions. we have found that in general, hawker centers price their foods lower. So if you have a region with more hawker centers than the others, it actually does work out to a lower average price for that region.
So could you use your model and predict, for example, for a family of 4, if they plan to eat out every meal every day, very roughly how much would that cost? And I suppose, as you put forward just now as well, depending on purchasing power, would this count as affordable for this average family of 4?
So again, if we look at the family of 4 costs and we multiply it using the $17 a day, it would actually work out to be around $473 a month. We assume that's 30 days in that month, eating out for 3 meals a day in such food establishments. So how we derive this is basically looking at the prices for these different food establishments. And such food establishments actually are conventionally believed to be more affordably priced compared to places like restaurants and cafes. So it is more of like a baseline for people to compare their household budgets against. So we have to again look at, the household budget that they are working with to establish whether this is a costly budget or affordable budget for their family.
Dr. Teo, thank you very much for joining us this evening and shedding more light on Makan Index 2.0. That was Dr. Teo Kay Kee there, Research Fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies.